Okay, so this section is why this will work. So we're moving beyond who I am, and there's a lot more that I will, because I'm going to do these videos every so often, and so I will tell you lots and lots about me. Feel free to send me emails. Um, info at peoplespetroltoken.com. Obviously, there's no apostrophe in there, so it's info at peoplespetroltoken, all one word, .com. Send me your email, send me your questions. I don't know. I really don't know if I'm going to sit there and read the comments because, to be perfectly honest, human beings are nasty in YouTube. So send me an email, and if I don't like it, I'll just delete it. But if it's a nice email, if you've got a legitimate question, fine, please. I'll be more than happy to answer this. Why this will work? It's been done before. I'm just following in the footsteps of little giants, okay? The big giants out there, the big corporations, and the biggest ones in the world are like Russian Gazprom and Sinopec in China. Those ones are huge. If you compare the amount of oil and gas that is produced by things like um, Shell and BP and all the ones that are common around the United States, um, those companies are actually much smaller, and they exist within the United States pretty much as a bubble. Yeah, they sell all over the world. Here in Australia, we've got Shell, we've got BP, British Petroleum. Um, most of the big oil companies in the United States are also here, okay? Because, English speaking democracy, free market capitalist system. Sure, no problem. Let them come in. The people need gasoline. Fine, you sell us gasoline. Um, so all of that, what I need to get back to is why this is going to work. Um, this has been done. It is known that uh, leasing federal land, sinking drills, sinking drills, sinking wells, drilling, and extracting oil works. It works. It's known in the United States. It works. It just requires a ton. It's not the word I wanted to use, but I'm going to go with polite ton of money to get started. But there are companies in the United States that are private, small companies that do this. There are companies out there, maybe not a lot. There's somewhere between a dozen and 2 dozen in the United States of America right now that uh, do this. And you can go look them up. Go look them up online. Do a Google. Sit there and say, small oil companies USA. It'll give you a list. It'll tell you their assets, how much money they're making each year in general. One of them just broke $1 billion. So $1 billion income profit for the year. That's big. That's huge. Now that particular company is the leading small oil company in the United States, but that's not bad at all. Um, that's actually pretty good. Hang on a sec. So amazingly, it is possible. Are we ever going to be able to honestly, seriously threaten the monopoly of the big oil companies? No. They're too well entrenched. They exist. They have, as I mentioned before, they have economy of scale. They will be able to run things cheaper. They have more advertising. They have more power, political power, economic power, right? Remember we talked about money is power. Those companies will never be dislodged by some little startup company that I'm trying to create that basically sits there and says, I need to connect the phone. You put a whole bunch of things together. I need to put together the right kind of people who are able to do the research, find the plots, okay, that are being auctioned off by the federal government that have already been proven, have already had test wells drilled, proving that they have oil and natural gas. Okay, that that's what happens. You end up getting those ones being auctioned off by the federal government. Those ones are a lot more expensive than ones that don't have a proof of oil and natural gas under the ground. Okay, so we're going to have to make some decisions about which ones we go for. Okay, it's the difference between $40,000 for a small plot and maybe not going to have oil versus millions for one in which it's been proven that the test wells have already come back positive. Remember, the government doesn't drill oil on its own. Honestly, it should, but it doesn't. I'm gonna run for president. I am. You know what I'm gonna run for president on? I'm gonna run for president on the following things. I'm about to offend more people. Hey, everybody, listen up to why this is going. All of a sudden, this is a section that was supposed to be why this is going to work. I'm going to run for president on the concept of, um, yeah, no, you shouldn't tell women what to do with their bodies. So that's number one. Number two, gay marriage should be totally legal in the United States, across the entire United States, and that people should have the right to, full legal benefits of marriage. Whose business is it of yours to tell them they can't get married and live together and have a life? That's just dumb. Um, Guns, okay, should be removed from the people. I'm sorry, the Second Amendment needs to be repealed or changed. Okay, you don't get to have a gun unless you are a member of the Army Reserve or the Military Reserve or a police officer reserve, or you can prove a reason. You better have a heck of a good reason to be able to own a gun. Okay? No, do not. The general person should not just be able to walk into someplace and buy a gun. That's crazy. The ability to kill other human beings. Are you allowed to go buy, like dynamite? Dynamite is a means of killing other human beings. Are you allowed to do that? No. Certain things are controlled. Sorry. The other thing is healthcare. Healthcare in the United States needs to be free. It needs to be, something that is paid for out of taxes, and it's going to be cheaper. Okay, it's been proven. Tests, countries like Australia, the amounts we pay annually for taking care of per citizen are much less than the prices that are in the United States. Because once you have the government saying, well, this is how much we're going to pay, and that's all, because the government's paying the doctor, and the government's the one who's paying for all the tests and the machines and the x-rays and everything else. If the government's paying and the government's the one owning the hospital, then the government can say, why would we pay at the privatized rate? Private healthcare costs 3, 4 times as much. Government's like, no, that's not the way it's going to work. Trust me, that's how it really works in Australia. Okay? And there was a fifth concept. Oh, it was the fact that the natural resources in the United States of America should be nationalized by the federal government, and the federal government should be the one extracting the oil. So what we're trying to do, you and me with the People's Petrol Token, that needs to be repeated by the federal government on a grand scale, and they need to enter into competition with the private companies that already have their leases and let the government create the company. Okay, all the employees are going to be government workers. They're going to be extracting public oil because it's on public land, and they're going to be turning it into public gasoline at a ridiculously low price as compared to the current amounts because it's the government. They'll run it as a company. They'll initially take taxpayer money to start the company. All right. They'll create the company. They'll build the refineries. The government will obviously meet all the EPA requirements. They're the government. And they're going to be able to sell gasoline to the people at a significant discount because they're not running it at a profit. Do you see what I'm saying? We in People's Petrol Token, we're just trying to run it at 10% profit. So effectively, we're trying to do that. We're trying to do what the government should do, but the government will never do in the United States because that smacks of socialism. Nationalizing oil, which to be perfectly honest belongs to the people. It shouldn't be, the government should not just be able to sit there and say, well, we're making a little bit of money by selling all these plots, selling these leases for 10 years. Yeah, you are making a little bit of money, but that's all you're making, a little bit of money. Whereas if you ran the company and you ran it at 10%, like People's Petrol Token, the government would be making tons of money. And so instead of our government literally running at a deficit, at least one section of the government, one of the huge sections of the government, would be running at a profit. Help pay down the national debt. Nonetheless, nobody's going to believe me and nobody's going to go that way. So why this will work? It's already being done. This idea of private companies exploring for oil, pumping oil, selling it on the open market, that already exists. There are lots and lots, no, not lots and lots, dozens of small companies across the United States who are the ones who purchase these plots of land. Now, according to my research, 90% are purchased, are snapped up by the big oil companies, and 10% go to the little companies, the little exploration companies. Okay? Are there going to be potential problems? Yes. Is it possible that this whole thing could fail because the government makes no promises, sits there and says, okay, well, here you go, you've purchased this this oil at such and such location. Sorry, you've purchased this plot, and we believe there's oil there based upon our et cetera, et cetera. If the well dries up in 30 days, it's not the government's fault. They told us the truth, and we're suddenly literally holding the bag, going, now what do we do? Which is why we need a lot of money, which is why the initial amount of money needs to be significant. That's why the People's Petrol Token is being created. I don't like saying, give me your money. Invest in the People's Petrol Token. We will use that money to create the corporation. We will hire the right people. I do not for one moment pretend to understand all the nuances of all that. But to sit there and say that I can't do it is only because I don't have the money. I don't have the power to create that company. I don't have the power to buy the equipment. I don't have the power to hire the right people because I don't have the money. Once I have enough money in the bank and be able to use that money to hire, to create the corporation, to hire the right people, to purchase the land leases, okay, that's when we get to sit there and see whether or not we're able to do this. But the proof of concept already exists. Not everyone. It's been done again and again and again and again. The big oil companies exist because it works as a concept. Um, Leasing from the government, drilling, extracting, selling, or in case of some of the big companies, refining and then selling the gasoline. That works. All we have to do is follow in their footsteps. Follow the process that they've already laid out. That will work. So this is a no-brainer in terms of getting it done. It's just the startup money which we need to acquire. Okay? That's why this is going to work. That's why I need your money. I'm not going to lie. I need your money. $100. Just $100 initially. Please don't go crazy. Please don't risk your life savings on this. I'm going to work on this for ages, for years, for decades. But that doesn't mean that I want you risking things, okay? All right. I'll talk to you later. That's the end of this. This is going to work. Bye-bye.